Hi, my name is Tim Tang from Hughes, and today I have the privilege of speaking with David Faulkner from Next Branch Strategies. David, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've spent most of my career as an internal executive with retailers and banks. In the retail world, I worked with Gap and Nordstrom, and in the banking world, I worked for companies like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Capital One. In every case, my role was really around developing new retail concepts to help them have a better competitive advantage in the marketplace.
David, we are in a time of significant transition in the banking industry. Can you speak a little bit about the role of the employee and how that's going to change in the branch?
I think this is one of the crossovers when you talk about retail banking that goes between both the retail and the banking industry. And it's that the associate is really your asset. The physical space is something of an asset, but really the associate is the one that creates revenue for the company.
What does the expectations of the associate's role in the branch look like today?
So right now, most of the activity in the branch is transactional, and most associates were hired because they needed people who could deal with all the compliance issues and all the steps necessary to onboard people onto accounts, which were very, very complicated.
Okay.
However, as technology takes over more and more of the task, I think that we want associates to focus on the true mission of the branch, which is to attract, retain, and increase our customer relationships.
In that perspective then, in light of the mission of the branch, what do you see the role of the associate being?
I think the role of the associates is, and you want to emphasize, how does the human touch impact your sales or your retention, etc. You want the associate to focus on making those connections that can be best made in the store, while also being a resource for the client, because that really makes the advantage sustainable. Think about a website or an app that you just use occasionally, because it doesn't give anything back, it just processes the transaction you want. But if you think about your banker, if you've had a good banker, you think about them as someone you feel confident that you could go back to again and again. So at the point of purchase, at the time when you're making that decision, you're weighing the future value of that relationship. And the associate is the entire measure you have of that potential.
This is a fairly meaningful paradigm change, right? This is an associate who before was just taking checks and giving out cash to now becoming a true ambassador of the bank brand.
Yeah, I think they're really a portal into that banking relationship. And one of the things you said before was true, like it would take half an hour to go through a questionnaire just to opening a checking account. Now that's something you can do with a few swipes on a phone. You really don't need an associate to do. But you need an associate to help you decide which bank you trust with your money.
With the transactions coming out of the branch because they're going to mobile and more complicated things coming into the branch and becoming the primary focus, how do we prepare? What tools do the associates need?
So the associates in banks and really in the world of work in general are going to move into a continuous training mode. As technology is developed, as the environment shifts, associates are going to constantly need to improve their skills. And I think there's going to be a huge skills gap as boomers age out of the workforce. And you have fewer workers, and they may not have the training because as technologies improve, there's not time to get them into the schools, right? So you're going to need on-site training to be delivered on a continuous basis. And while banks have training capabilities, I'm not sure many of them are prepared to send out weekly, monthly, quarterly trainings to keep their associates up to speed and make them really the point of difference between your bank and every other bank in the marketplace.
It's really interesting. It has very meaningful onboarding implications in terms of being able to enable employees to earn while they learn.
Yeah. And if you think about a lot of the video training out there, from Khan Academy, which my high school student has used,
Yes.
to many of the resources on YouTube you have for common household repairs and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that trainings have to be hour-long or so on. We can segment these up into really digestible portions that can be done during short downtime periods.
And given the complexity of what we're dealing with, it's not only the basic core curriculums and basic skills that you need, but maybe a whole library of real-time, on-demand type activities too as well.
Well, don't you want your banker to be able to tell you what the implications of the administration's new and next rule change is the day after it happens?
Absolutely.
You need to be able to shoot something out there to your employees so that they look like they're on top of these things.
So much has been talked about the shift in corporate culture from being able to get employees to want to do the right thing as opposed to being forced to do the right thing. How do we make this transition? How do we get employees self-motivated?
Well, you know, I think that culture is one of the major differentiators. If you think about how companies like Google attract people, it's because of the culture. Reinforcing that culture in a dispersed branch network has always been hard. But now, if you have a good pipe to the branch, you can start to build that uniform culture across a wide network.
Just like for the personal benefits of Skype, video has a way of shortening the distance between the branch and the corporate headquarters.
Right, and I think that's what you really need. You need, in the cloud, you need to have a huge amount of resources to compete with Siri, right?
We're not just talking about kind of marketing and branding to our customers. We are marketing and branding to our employees to get their best performance and their best position in front of our customers.
Absolutely, because without that, you'll just have somebody parroting the company line, and people see through that pretty quickly.
Well, David, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. We've been speaking with David Faulkner from Next Branch Strategies, and my name is Tim Tang from Hughes. Thank you.
Thanks.